had growing up, chances are you would defend them tooth and nail because they're your parent and because you love them. And that's the way kids work. So getting children into recovery can really impact the whole family system once the program is over, because they're bringing these tools and skills into the family themselves. And we have lots of parents come back and tell us, like, you know, my kid told me to get to a meeting, right? Or my kid said that maybe it's just for today things feel bad, right? So children are getting the education that they can absolutely intellectualize and absorb and use, that they need to be a part of a solution, because they're already part of the problem. They're living in this every day. So again, the theme was denial. My child didn't see me drink or use drugs, so she or he wasn't affected. I had the amazing opportunity recently to do a training for the RCMP, and the talk I give to officers or people in the frontline service is a little bit different, because I talk about seizing the opportunity when you arrive on a crisis scene, right? And I find it so interesting that police and social workers, judges and lawyers, when we're involved in these family systems that aren't functioning well, our intentions are to help and to serve, and yet our old ideas tell us that kid's too young to know, I'm not going to say anything to them, let's protect them. It's the opposite. You're just co-signing the bullshit by keeping your silence, right? Like, what made us think ever that keeping silent from a child the truth about their lived experience, every minute of the day they live with this, and yet we don't want to address it with them? Yes, fear about doing it inappropriately or in the wrong way or in the least effective way, we don't want to do harm. But silence is harm, because we are saying to that child that what you're going through, you don't understand, we can't talk to you about it because you're just little. They live with it. They live with it every day, right? And so I know for me, when I had some of these same institutions and resources in my life as a child, God knows what a difference it would have made if someone just turned around, crouched down to my level and said, honey, this is not your fault. You did not cause this. You know what? One day, maybe there's going to be help for you and your family. And even a business card to my mom. God knows what the trajectory of my life would have been, you know, if that had happened. And I'm happy to say that, you know, in spite of everything, as much as I didn't want to grow up and be like my dad and be like my stepdad and have a problem with alcohol, you know, lo and behold, if you start drinking at age 11 and love it, it's an indicator that maybe you are going to struggle with substances, right? And that struggle took me a long time to figure out a way to manage my life without drugs and alcohol. And on March 14th, 2005, I found a way to put it down and get the help I needed to recover from this hopeless state of mind and body. You know, and I feel that I am lucky and blessed and fortunate. But as a kid, what if someone had talked to me about alcoholism? What if someone had talked to me about the disease? Or about how my whole family was affected? You know, the what-ifs around that really drive me today to make sure that before kids leave our 4-day program, they really understand relapse. They understand the disease of addiction. They understand what components compel their parents to make choices that hurt them, even though the parent doesn't want to hurt them, right? So the denial piece and shifting families from that is a lot of work, and I understand that you're starting to make new inroads with your own family program, and this is a huge brick wall that we all face as workers in trying to get families the help they need. But it's all about planting seeds in concrete. Every time you can say something and educate them and give them a resource and say, this program will help you, this skill will help you, do you want to change? The seed is planted, and if they don't come talk to you then, we often get at the family center families coming back to us 3 months later when they're addict alcoholics, even better, saying, okay, like I'm done and I don't know what to do, and we're still there for them. So the reality of an addicted family system: alcoholic fashions his or her life to protect the drinking. Partner fashions his or her life to protect the addict, right? How do I make the house okay? How do I make them okay? How do I make excuses? How do I try and control them and manipulate their using or drinking? And then the children create their own world to protect their parents. Because again, if you have a parent that's not a great parent, they're still your parent, and you love them, and you want their approval, and you want their attention, bottom line. Doesn't matter what kind of parent they are, right? And so everybody is taking care of the bottle and the disease, and nobody is looking after themselves. So kids are masterful survivors. This is what makes it very tricky for staff, for frontline workers, community workers, social workers, to identify when children are in need of support. To my mind, if a child is living in a home with addiction, they qualify, period. We don't need to wait to assess them. They need some kind of intervention and education and information to support them so that they understand what's happening in their family. But some of the classic roles identified for children growing up in an alcoholic home are the family hero. Generally, this is the firstborn. Eldest becomes the third parent, right, to compensate for the parents or parents who are actively using and drinking, who aren't fulfilling their parental duties. They're hyper-responsible, they excel in school, struggle with perfectionism, very, very low self-esteem, but on the outside really need to present this image of togetherness to sort of repair the family's reputation, if you will. It's riding on them. The scapegoat tends to be, generally, often the second child in the family, and this is the one who has no clue where to put their emotions. They can't compete with the older child who has that covered. They're great, they're perfect, everything's good. I have all these feelings, I have nowhere to channel them into, and getting negative attention is better than no attention. So these are the children who act out in school, have a hard time concentrating, and behave in ways that are attention-seeking, and end up giving them negative attention, right? And another question that just baffles me, when I was growing up, I heard a lot, I was the scapegoat. I was in a lot of trouble all the time, because my brother was the hero. I know that now, then I didn't, but I heard a lot, oh, she just is looking for attention, and in that tone, in that kind of like, oh, you just want attention. And my approach, my philosophy, my belief is, oh, you really need some attention. Let me give that to you. What's wrong with needing attention when you're a child and a teenager? Of course you do. Of course you want attention.